Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm Jon Ralston. John Chachas is one of several Republican candidates hoping to unseat the Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid. All right, I want to talk about the economy, and I want to show you what the Majority Leader said on this program in February 2008 about his economic philosophy. Get your take on that.
We live in a society that is laissez-faire, free market society, and I support that. That's one of the marvels of America. And if people had a home, they build it, and somebody wants to pay so much for it, that's the way it should be. You
think that's how he's behaved since then as Senate Majority Leader?
Well, I'm sure the Senate Majority Leader feels that that soundbite makes for good news, but the fact is he's...
Are you saying we only get sound bites on this program, sir?
No,
I'm
not in
offended.
the slightest. I'm sorry. Senator Reid fundamentally is behaving in a way that he thinks Washington knows how to solve these problems, and he's...
That's what we pay them for, though. We pay them to solve these problems, don't we?
We pay them to do the business of the country and the business of the state, and to try to use your dollars efficiently. I look at today, and I talk to families and businesses that I work with in all kinds of parts of industry, and in 2009, all of those businesses and all of those families somehow found a way to wind in their spend. They looked at what the market looked like, and they said, I can't do what I did last year. I can't spend the same at Christmas. I can't go on the same trip. I've got to watch what I spend. No one in Washington, and Senator Majority Reid, Senator Reid, least of all, actually has looked and behaved in a way that reflects that. The government spends more and more. We are running this year a $1.6 trillion deficit. That's 40% of what this government spends is being borrowed.
Let me just stop you because I do want to ask you this. You come from a place where you really understand this high finance better than most people. It should be one of your qualifications for this.
That's kitchen table finance.
Yeah, but what I'm telling you is that you understand why very sophisticated people in the cabinet of both administrations, Bush administration and Obama, said we have to get this stimulus out here. We have to spend money to get people spending money again. Why wasn't that the right policy?
Well, spending money is, ask yourself the question. So someone in Washington's taking tax dollars from you and the consumer and putting it through a program either in transfer payments or expanded unemployment benefits. Is that really going to put someone back to work in a permanent way? I was driving down a street in the East and saw a bunch of trees being planted with a sign that said, your stimulus dollars at work. That, to me, is not sustainable job growth. You're sitting in an economy that's 70% driven by the consumer. If the consumer feels like their job's at risk, if they feel like their house payment's too large relative to their earnings capacity, and most importantly, they look at their credit card debt and the amount of the loan that they have to pay back, they are not spending. And so,
how do you get them to do that then?
Well,
what should they have done?
Government should be leaving money in their pockets. If we're going to run a deficit, let's run a deficit leaving money in the consumer's pockets. We could
tax cuts.
Well, it's not just a tax cut. You could actually create some policies that are designed to, on a tax advantage basis, allow a consumer to pay down their mortgage, their principal mortgage, pay down their student loan or their car loan. None of that's really being discussed. So we either send one-time return checks or rebate checks saying, here, we're going to give you an extra bit of money, which did nothing and was a blip, or we're going to give a whole bunch of money to the federal government and the bureaucracy to go spend it. Fundamentally, to get this economy working again, consumers have to get out from under, like I said, $6 trillion of household debt went to 15. That's way too much. And we need to do something as a government to leave more of the money in the pocket of the consumer.
You recognize in your economic plan how bad the housing crisis is in this country, especially in Nevada. But I'm puzzled a little bit by this. You have a couple of components, 2 or 3 components, and one of them is that you think that first-time home buyers should have to put more money down. And you essentially want to punish the home buyers and not the lenders for this crisis, don't you?
Well, look, the home buyer who bought a house with no money down, if you look at the statistics, no down payment generally is a pretty good recipe that at some point that home buyer doesn't feel any real ownership of that house, and if they're in a position where they just want to send the keys back to the bank. Statistically speaking, so
banks take advantage of some sucker, and you want to blame the sucker?
Look,
that's what you're saying, isn't it?
No, not at all. The consumer needs to actually get some relief. So homeowners who have mortgages that are in excess of the carrying value of the house, what you're finding is people are defaulting on those.
Right.
Clark County has 1 in 12 houses in the last quarter was basically heading into foreclosure. We need to do something more than just hope that the bank gives.
So leave the banks alone. They're the good actors.
No, not the slightest. The banks need to both accelerate their efforts to modify these mortgages to make these homes more affordable for people. I think, frankly, some of that stimulus spending, where those dollars haven't gone out the door, it would be a good thing to rethink whether some of those dollars need to be deployed in a way to help homeowners that are at risk of losing their house to actually keep that house.
Well, we're out of time, Mr. Chachas. Really appreciate your willingness to come on the program. I hope you'll come back and debate your opponents right here on Face to Face.
I'd welcome that.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Nevada. And on the next Face-to-Face, banker John Guidry is out. Former State Senator Joe Heck is in. How will Heck's decision to run against Congresswoman Dina Titus change the dynamics of that race? And how does Titus plan to defend the challenge and retain her seat in 2010? We'll ask Congresswoman Dina Titus about that and much more on the next Face to Face.